Hi everybody, this is a game that I play against Chessmaster 10th edition in late 2005. I was black, the time control was 3 minutes with 3-second increments. That is on each move, both players get 3 seconds. And I also have a couple of wins against Chessmaster 10th edition, but right now I can't find those games anywhere, but as soon as I will post them as well. Anyway, let's take a look at this game. Like I said, I was black, and Chessmaster played c4. I played e5, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, knight c6, g3, and there's also, of course, a move like e3, just a sample variation, bishop b4, d4, e takes d4, e takes d4, d5, bishop g5, castles, c takes d5, queen e8 check, bishop b2, and so on. But g3 is probably the most common move, and I'll play d5, c takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop g2, and here knight b6. Instead of knight b6, black can also take on c3, and here's another sample variation, b takes c3, e4, knight g1, f5, f3, e3, pawn sacrifice, the point being after d takes e3 to trade queens early, bishop e6. Well, it's not actually necessary for white to take the pawn, so you can also play either f4 or d4, and that pawn on e3 is probably not very easy to protect. White can play moves like queen d3 and just pick up the pawn that way. But that didn't happen. So after another variation, of course, is instead of knight b6, bishop e6, and then just usually castles. And if knight g5, which looks, well, just a trade basically. Queen takes d5, knight takes d5. And long castles protects the pawn on c7. What else? Well, after bishop e7, d3, castles, d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop f6, and things just come off the board basically. So anyway, I'll play knight b6, which is again probably the most common move. White castled, bishop e7, a3, castles, d3, bishop e6, b4, f6. Instead of f6, there's also, well, of course, they always other moves. a5, for example, b5, knight d4. But I'll play f6. f6 of course protects the pawn on e5 in case there's some sort of attack on that file. Pawn, sorry. So knight e4. Obviously, keeping this square in mind. a6. Queen c2, rook c8. And now knight c5. And here black doesn't really have much choice because white is actually threatening to win the pawn on b7 and the bishop on e6, so I just had to play bishop takes c5, b takes c5, knight d5, and well, the downside with this position over here on the queen side is that now white has an open rook file that he can use, and also that pawn on c5 is kind of strong. So white played e4, kicking up my knight once more. I play knight e7, bishop e3, and here b6. It's not, well, the computer did not take the pawn. Well, I don't have much time to actually analyze why. Well, let's just take a look. For example, if, well, of course, I have my knight, sorry, my queen protecting the pawn over here. Obvious reason. So after b6, white play rook a to b1, and here b5, rook f to d1. Another move perhaps could have been a4, undermining those pawns. I'm not sure. But then, of course, my knight on c6 would have protected the pawn on b4. But that didn't happen, so computer play rook f to d1. Rook b8, d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, rook takes d4, queen e8, f4, rook d8, just trading off a bunch of pieces, f5, bishop c4, rook to d1, queen c8, g4, rook d8, g5, knight c6, g takes f6, g takes f6, h3. Well, I'm not sure actually why the computer played h3. Oh, well, rook d7, rook takes d7, queen takes d7, queen f2. I suppose it doesn't really matter how strong a player is, because every move can have a purpose, I believe. That's not really possible. Bishop d4, queen e7, queen d2, queen d7, queen c3, queen e7, h4, queen g7. One small advantage that white has in this game is that he has the two bishops, and I have a knight on e5 and a bishop on c4. But on the other hand, although the bishop pair is usually clear, well, not always, but you often anyway, an advantage to have. But on the other hand, my knight is kind of anchored on e5, and it can't really be chased away. And of course, if white plays takes the knight, and then if the pawn takes, I mean, it's virtually impossible to get anything out of that as white. So that didn't happen. So king h2 just to get out of the pin. Queen e7 and queen g7, c6, and a queen trade, king f7, and now a little trick. Knight takes e6. Of course, I can't take the pawn because, sorry, the piece, because of the c takes b6, c7, and there's no way to actually to stop that pawn. Because of course I can't play this move because then just white takes and queen's over here. So knight takes c6, just a pawn trade basically. Knight e5, and well, there's no way to make any progress for either black or white here. So okay, here eventually Chessmaster chose to trade. And now we have an opposite color bishop endgame, and this is just completely drawn. All you gotta do is move your bishop back and forth basically. There's no way to make progress here. Well, I don't know if this is actually much to analyze. Okay, the game ended in a draw on move 84. So again, let's take a quick look at the opening. The opening was English for knight's variation, and I believe the game followed theory until move. Well, this is still theory. Perhaps here. This was the last opening. Let's see here. This was the last book move, I believe. A6. No. Still wrong here. Queen c2. Here I played rook c8. Okay, rook c8 was the last book move. The book move would have been either queen d7 or queen e8. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon.